Welcome everyone back to another episode of Q&A with Sharon's son George. I was my mother's caregiver after she was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. Unfortunately, she passed on 1/1/2020, but we started TogetherForSharon.com in her memory. Today's guest is someone who I always say inspires me, but also motivates me during my own issues. I always look up to him and see his social media, and he gets me kind of excited and really very honored to have you here, Tucker, with us because I think that the world needs to know about what you do. And I think actually we're actually located almost close to each other. I'm in South Florida, which I thought was pretty cool, unless I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here. And yeah, I think where you're in West Palm, I think I
Yeah,
saw.
around
Awesome. Yeah, I'm in Fort Lauderdale. So
yeah.
yeah,
I didn't know that.
sunny weather.
I'll have
Yeah,
to join forces together someday soon, but
of
maybe
course.
start by
Yeah.
telling us kind of about your background and what led you into the field, but not just specifically the field, also really honing in on your skills, helping people with Parkinson's.
Definitely. Yeah. So I grew up in Pennsylvania. I kind of in like the rural area with like more of the Amish population type. However, I went to school in Philadelphia. So I lived there for about 8 years. I received my degree in occupational therapy. And from there, I had a clinical. And my clinical was actually in South Florida. I had a friend that lived down here. So I decided to come down here. And actually, I had probably only seen Parkinson's 2 or 3 times my entire life, even as like a student. And when I came to South Florida, it was everywhere, you know. And I was placed in a clinic that was for people with neurological disabilities, with a specialization particularly in Parkinson's. So when I got involved with that, I was pretty much sold. I loved working with the people. I thought they were amazing. Um, and I also got to see stroke, ALS, all different types of neurological disabilities, but I was always gravitated towards Parkinson's. So with that, I graduated. I had to go back for a year. I graduated grad school and immediately I moved down here and started my career with that company. They had different clinics in Boca Raton, Boynton Beach, and they actually opened a clinic Plantation, which is probably like 25 minutes from my house. So I managed, kind of ran that facility and was able to work. I've probably seen over 5,000 Parkinson's clients at this point, different ones just in through the basis of my career. So I've been doing that I did that for about 7 years. And after that, I decided to branch out onto my own and start my own personal business, which I'm currently doing. And that's where I've kind of filtrated since then.
I appreciate it. And I actually visited the Amish country when I was a kid. So I'm from
Yeah.
New York.
It's
Uh,
different. When I take people back, they just can't, they can't understand it.
wonder how you think, and this is off the record, but how we can gain more awareness even in South Florida, just because I'm sad in that we only met recently when I've been doing this since I lost my mother 5 years. I'm sure you've been doing it long. I don't see enough awareness in South Florida. I actually had Senator Rick Scott on. I had the Department Secretary of State of a lot of the elderly services on the show. And one thing I'm sad, and sometimes I know we have some big organizations, but there's not enough presence here, even though we have, I think, a bigger population of people with Parkinson's in South Florida, and Palm Beach County. I'm kind of sad because I just realized the other day, after 5 years, that my mother never even met someone with Parkinson's. And as a caregiver, I felt really alone. So how do we make sure, besides our show today, that the world knows about you and your work? I think you're doing incredible way on social media, especially Instagram. That's how I found you. But I want everybody out there. I always joke, and I'm not really joking, but I want you and everyone we have on the show to have 10 million, followers, because I think the work you're doing is so important.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and I agree. I think for the most part is getting the word out there in terms of putting things I every time I use the new app that is out there. Have you heard of that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just try to get as much information about Parkinson's, get resources. I do referrals for certain doctors that I know. It's all word of mouth essentially, and through social media. So a lot of times just building that bridge and bridging that gap and trying to just, get the information that needs to be put out there. And that's through people that actually know about that community, from you to me to others out there. I think people have a difficult time finding those resources. And because of this area, and there is a very high, population of Parkinson's, the word spreads pretty quickly. And if we can do that, it's kind of putting those areas of the best resources that we can do.
And of course, I want to make sure, and I could be wrong, that you could also help people virtually, right? It's not just in Florida, because this show is not about just South Florida. I just happen to mention it. It's really for everyone. They can use some of your help in different ways through virtual, which we'll get to in a minute. Is that correct?
Definitely correct. Yeah, I've recently went virtual a little bit more just because of, with the pandemic and everything with COVID, that kind of branched us out into more technological type of, era. So being able to connect with people that are in like Iowa or, Idaho or wherever that is, I mean, they don't have the same resources that certain, other areas of, high populations do. So I wanted to be able to provide that in a specialized area such as, Parkinson's specialties.
Yeah, I love the Michael J. Fox Foundation. I've had them on the show, but I always tell them we were lucky. I don't know if you attended, but they had an IQ event in Hollywood just last April. So I got the honor to be there, but I wish they would have an actual office in South Florida, because I think not just fundraising, but awareness. And one of these is, I love New York, and I think they're located a few other, but Florida should have been, I think, one of their major spots. I keep telling them, hopefully they're watching this and they'll take
Yeah,
but I think that it would be great for all of us, to work as a family together in the fight for a cure.
I
Uh,
agree.
Thanks. And so this is an important topic. We have so much to cover in a moment. Actually, while you answer this question, I'm going to share some of your incredible work. But uh, why do you think, I mean, you might not be able to comment, but let's talk for a moment about the rise of Parkinson's disease as the #1 neurodegenerative disease, rapidly, sadly, growing throughout the world.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think being out in the field and actually working with these patients, you really you start to hear the commonalities, right? You start to hear the certain trends that are happening, and of course, the cause tends to gravitate towards the unknown, but there's various factors that you can kind of take into account, and certainly we have a increasing aging population. That's definitely a big factor, especially in South Florida. We have a lot of retired people, but you can see that there's a trend in more of the, uh, you know, less population. I'm sorry, the less aging population, also the early onset population. So with that, what could we say? Why is the reasoning? And I'm sure you've read some of the books out there that the environmental toxins, right? There's more exposure to these things. So, there's dry cleaning toxins, there's TCE, there's a lot more of pollution in our air and specifically within our foods. And I know we're going to talk about that also is diet. I would say diet with the mass production of certain goods and things like that, they have to use these certain chemicals. So we need to take a positive stance on that and try to decrease any type of toxins that we are exposed to, through eating different types of foods, house cleaning products, different types of detergents and that we use. Just limiting that exposure, I think, is the #1 key to kind of decreasing the
Yeah.
risk factors.
Dr. Ray Dorsey was actually on the show, and when he told me about the toxins in the dry cleaning, as he was speaking, and I'll
Yeah.
talk to him later, I was thinking in my mind, how do I remove my clothes and throw them out the window while we're talking? I didn't even, you don't think about some of these things and their routine. It's like if you're not you don't have the knowledge or awareness, it's pretty frightening.
Right. And that's kind of what I tell people. I mean, I don't like to say specifics, but I do see trends. I see a lot of different professionals that had their Garmin dry cleaned. I see a lot of doctors. I see a lot of people that are exposed to radiation. I see a lot of farmers, people that were living in rural areas. So it's not to say that that's the definite cause, but you can see a trend in these areas. A lot of dentists. Yeah.
Lawyers too. That's
Yeah,
me.
exactly. Yes, exactly. Yep.
I do want to restart the whole show in a way and say, can we, because I actually never had an occupational therapist on the show, which is sad, but I
Yeah.
think it's because it's a little rare, which shouldn't be. We didn't have time with my mother because she had okay speech until the last year, which it was almost so many other issues that we didn't have. That wasn't the major problem, but it is a big one. So maybe we could, or you can talk about occupational therapy, your training, and I really should have started it with that, but I have so
That's
much
completely.
more. We have so much to cover that, I just hope we can.
Yeah, yeah. So I think in the grand scheme of things, people think OT is like, oh, we're gonna work with hands or we're gonna work on being able to like dress yourself. And it's just so much more than that, actually. It's being able to do whatever you find meaningful in your life as independently as possible. That can be in terms of you be wanting to play golf. That can be you being able to get in and out of the house, driving your car, whatever that is. Occupational is based around meaningful activities. So I was lucky enough to work in a facility that gave me complete freedom in that regard. So I've really been able to have a holistic approach with people. So the first thing I do is I find out, what that person, who they are as a person. Do they have grandkids? Or what provides meaning to their life? And we work on those functional activities to gain independence. So simple things like, oh yeah, you have a grandchild that is, or a son or daughter that is young, 5. You need to be able to reach down, pick that child up, be able to hold them. So we'll work on those functional activities that provide meaning.
Yeah, no, I mean, some of this is so important. I just am surprised. I know there's many out there, but I don't see a lot specifically on social media for occupational therapy, except for you, which is in a way great for you, but in a way I'm worried because I want, individuals who need this to know about it. So
Yeah.
again, I don't think occupational therapy for some reason comes into the person's mind. Obviously, it's always physical therapy. The sad thing is,
Right.
as you might know, my mother had long-term hospice, which is rare and new in Florida back then and 4 years ago. So they don't believe in physical therapy. And when they stopped that, her hope kind of broke and it was gone because the only thing you have in any disease is hope that you might get better. And they don't believe Parkinson's is the end of life, which is incorrect in our case. Of course, everyone's journey is different, but there's a lot of laws and things. Even death with dignity in Florida is still not passed. So very interesting how our state, might be a leader in many areas, but also is behind in so many more.
Yeah, exactly. And I've dealt with that, and that's kind of why I've branched out also. I mean, the progression and lifelong disability, I mean, it needs to become an area that is treated throughout the lifespan. You know what I mean? It's not something that you can take breaks from, So I think occupational therapy has this stigma around like, oh, it's just hands, oh, it's just getting dressed. And it's so much more than that. It's literally playing a sport if you want it to be. It's your, sleep. It has endless amounts of opportunities to cover. And that's what I want to be a, beacon to tell people like occupational therapy is not just this because insurance limits you to that. It's so much more. Because what we call walking, what a PT will call walking, we simply call functional mobility. So it's all, semantics.
And what got you in before we start into social media, but please everyone visit and support the doctor at drmvmnt.com. What is that? Is that your last name or what is that? It's not,
No, it's actually
no, your
abbreviation for,
last name's right.
yeah, yeah, for movement. So doctor movement. Yeah.
That's pretty easy to think about, and I didn't. So, you never. That's why I love this again. You never know. Yes, I get to ask everything. There's no secrets here. So,
Of course, of course.
but
Yeah.
I also, what is? I love the dog. By the way, we got to add you.
Thank you.
We have a section with pets and Parkinson's and people who are advocates. But I see you have all different social media. I did
Yep.
want to share some of them, but everyone listening, you can also link to all his social media here or at his beautiful this is a tree link page, which I
Yep.
have really enjoyed, but it's very important to learn about these areas. Unfortunately, I've had several back surgeries. I might even be doing more. And the tape, unfortunately, I'm aware of that. I don't want, I don't know why I know. So what, what made you, I don't know, you can share with us. I don't know how new you are to the social media, because I'm
Yeah.
surprised I didn't meet you before, but we only met, a few months ago. But I love your work because, and hopefully the sound's all, but it really is so important because you show, it's almost like show and tell, you give inspiration, and it's really something that caught my attention. Maybe you could talk a little bit about the social media and how you make it look so like movie-like.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So I am new to social media, actually. I just started this, I would say, in March. Um, so completely new, it's been a very big learning curve for me. I have friends that are excellent at doing editing and stuff, and they kind of always sending me stuff actually through Instagram. They're finding people and say, "Hey, why don't you do this? Why don't you do this trend or whatever that's going on?" And I take their advice and really utilize it. It seems to be great. And I think it's all about consistency. That's the main thing. The more consistent you are, the more you can get your word out. I've taken a little break from it recently, but I'm definitely, I think even today, I'm going to get back on and really, I just have a lot of knowledge that I want to get out. And I actually also do tutoring for occupational therapy students that are trying to pass their board exams. So I do a lot of research and a lot of my own education to try to, be able to present this information in just a more simplified manner. I think a lot of times information is just too confusing for people, and I just want to provide it in a very simple, easy to learn way. And that's kind of my basis around starting my social media, being able to see the impacts of specialized movement therapy, and also presenting information that people don't really know, because I see a lot of interesting cases. So if I can even help one person by presenting that information, I feel like I've done a world of help.
And that's the most beautiful thing about the Parkinson's community. They're really welcoming, and we all, it's not like competition really. Again, it's odd. Spoke with so many people, but never occupational therapy, maybe one. So I
Yeah.
want everyone to know, value rather than other industries where we might hide it, So it's very important that we all share this. Everyone listening, please also reach out to Tucker because he has some incredible areas. And every time I see, I like everything, and I like things as we are on live.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah, of course. I love getting to know new people and learning, all types of techniques, and people that that's their area of expertise. You always can learn something from someone or any piece of information. It's kind of how your perspective is on things.
Yeah, what's your future plans? Anything secret we can reveal today? On
So,
the
yeah, I mean, ideally, what I would like to do is create more of a brand rather than just me. I've come to my point where I'm almost tapped out with me seeing patients physically, right? So, building a team. I want to have a team with a physical therapist, a psychologist, a dietitian, and just really go from there. So, when I have a client, I can hit it from all aspects, right? Because I'm trying to do that all myself, and that may not be my area of expertise. So if I could build like that team, I think that's definitely the ideal, and kind of branch out more in the online services also.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I mean, you're in a great area, at least South Florida. I went to Nova, so there's so many, that's where all the nursing and the medical school and everything. But I think it's great to team up with others in the field. Also, if somebody needed a trainer or therapy, can they do it through you online, or does it still mainly, or live?
Yeah, yeah. So I am doing online training. I actually have 3 clients right now. It's all through an app. I kind of did my research and tried to figure out what was the easiest way. Well, with Parkinson's, you need the visual component. You have to have that video. So what I do is I've used an app called Everfit,
Mhm.
and it provides these videos. And I tried to do them myself. I'm still work in progress with that. As I build, it's just going to grow and grow and grow. But yeah, that's kind of how it is. it's an area where I will meet with you once a month to talk about, how's everything going, what your goals are, and it's all dictated on what you need. So I create a specific exercise routine to your goals and whatever your issues or impairments are. So everybody's different. That's the one thing. We hear like these symptomologies. Yeah, people with Parkinson's may have a tremor, they may have bradykinesia, but they also say everybody is different. So that's where it's important to have that specialized trainer that focuses on your specific impairments. And as or anybody knows, some exercises work for some people and others work better for different people. Like a bench press may be great for me, but you may need a different style that it may hurt your shoulder or something, right? So it's having that individualized, specific, client-specific plan that's necessary. And there's also some components that are typical with Parkinson's, like, balance, try to add some cognitive component in there, and lack of stride length, leg extensions. Adding that and making that a priority, you may not see that in regular, just generic based, exercise programs. So that's kind of where I branched out with that.
Thanks. And I do love when you were talking, I showed a few of the exercises you share on Instagram. So it's almost like you're getting kind of free advice too. And I think to get more in depth with you one-on-one is incredible to offer. So thanks for that. I wanted to shift a little, and I'll leave a little time at the end if you had some more areas that I might have missed. But can you list 3 words that describe who you are?
Yeah. Passionate, hardworking, and caring.
Thanks. Yeah, those usually everyone starts with like that. You did it so professionally. Thanks. What is one? Not that I don't love everyone else, but what is one moment or most memorable moment so far that stands out through all your work with awareness that you could share?
Yeah. So I think it's just generalized. I've really built a family. My clients, I have literally, most of them I've been working with for sometimes upwards of 7 to 8 years. And just seeing them through exercise, how they have literally maintained this disease in terms of fighting it, is incredible. I think just everybody has their own individualized story, and it really impacts me. And me being able to be a part of that, there's not one specific, but just all my clients, how hardworking they are, and even the caregivers. I mean, the caregivers are incredible. I mean, just being a part and having them as family, because I'm down here in South Florida. I moved down here by myself. So having these different people and their families and, looking to me to be any sign of hope and help that's definitely the story. And that's all of them.
Yeah, you actually touched on the next area, which is caregiving. I'm curious who helps you during times of struggle. I mean, I know you're not personally struggling, but when you have, Parkinson's clients or patients or even people you consider family, it's not always easy because you're helping them and you're hoping that they'll feel a little bit more better and also motivated. But wondering if there's someone behind the scenes, sometimes family that helps you during times of struggle, because I like to bring them out and thank them now. Also, I was a caregiver, as you know. What tips can you give those listening who are caregivers?
Yeah, definitely. I think, of course, my mom is definitely, she's always been kind of like a person who, if I need anybody or, if there's any area that I'm feeling a little down, like she'll always pick me up. So she's amazing. And then what was the second question? Sorry.
We send our love and support to the whole family too. But the second one part was just what tips could you give those listening who might be caregivers?
Yeah. Just be active. Listen to your spouse or whoever that is, your family, and just know that whatever you do is just so beneficial to them. Without you, they may not be where they are today. So anything that you can assist, the whole Parkinson's community is incredible, to be honest. It's like nothing you've ever seen. The caregivers are so caring, so helpful. They're willing to go above and beyond, and I would say at a high probability. It's not always the case, but a high probability. It's like anything, and understand that there's always support. There's people going through what you're going through also. So, this community is out there. So if you ever have questions or you're looking to talk to someone who's in a position such as yourself, you can always reach out, I'm sure, to you or myself or whoever, and we can provide that. I have plenty of spouses that, it's hard, it's can be difficult at times. So there is a community out there.
Yeah, and I'm glad we're side by side in this fight for a cure. Is there something, I know you're newer to social media, but you're not new to the field. Is there something you might have done differently looking back the past few years?
I would have started on my own a few years ago. Yeah, I think that I was I was in a company for a long time, and it was ready for me to branch out and take what my expertise was, that I developed amazing skills from that area. And it was time to take that out on my own and utilize that to expand and cover a lot more people. So I was happy to be able to do that. And I would have done that quicker, actually.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And this is an important one to me, but who's your hero or inspiration?
Yeah. So I would definitely say my inspiration is are people. I don't have one particular inspiration. I kind of take pieces from each person that I find as admirable. So I'll find someone who is very respectful and courteous, and I'll take an aspect of that person. I won't say that I have one single person.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great answer. That's why I love this, because it so
Yeah.
varies. And the thing is, I wish again, glad we met you earlier, but the only journey that breaks my heart today is the one I'm not aware of, and that's the problem with awareness. So I'm again
Yeah.
grateful for your time and friendship. This is if you were asked to write a script to a movie about your life story, what would you call it?
I like that one.
And I was
Um,
everyone listening, if you have any questions for the guests, feel free to send them.
yeah. So I would say live your life to the fullest. And I always say is, I mean, I have a tattoo of it. I said, the trouble is you think you have time. So use that time and live it most enjoyably. Like, you only have one life, right?
It might cost a lot to advertise. It's a long time.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah, exactly. That's a good one. I like that question.
Well, the final question, and then I'll give you a minute if I miss any areas you want to touch on, or if you can share how everyone can reach you. If you could leave the Parkinson's community today with some words of encouragement, what would they be?
Right. The words of encouragement, as always, is move. When you feel like not moving, move. And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to climb Mount Everest. You don't have to go for a 6-mile walk. Everybody is searching for these answers that really aren't there. They're diving into this research and nitpicking, like, oh, I have to do this, and I have to have my VO max at specifically 85%. And they're getting caught up in the details rather than at the end of the day, just do what gives you purpose and provides, you satisfaction. If movement is playing pickleball, then you play pickleball. If it's lifting weights, it's lift weights, whatever that is, it's just move. And you need to be moving every single day. And if you're in a bed or you're in a chair, that still move, whatever that looks like to you. And that, I think that's the take home message. People always ask me, what should I be doing? It's whatever you're going to do, do that. Yeah.
And that's a great thing too. We know so much more now about exercise and slowing the progression of Parkinson's. My wife and I had the honor to go to the Boca Ballet, which you might have heard of.
Nice.
But they actually have once a year program for people with Parkinson's, and they'll have a little show with little children and the people with Parkinson's, and they have a performance, and it really is like heartbreaking, and at the same time, heartwarming. So it's maybe something you can check out. And everybody listening, I share it usually if I could attend. I did have, oh, how can everyone reach you? I love the logos everywhere. That might be, I feel like
Right, that's
me.
easy, right? Yeah, so you could easily reach me by email. I mean, it's drmvmnt@gmail.com. I have my website. I'm gonna be revamping the website to make it more online based. So you know, if it's something, the easiest way is, like I say, this is everybody that's a part of, you know, my training is like family. So the best way is messaging me individually. So because I want to treat you as an individual. I'm not going to treat you like a big group of people. You know, you're different from everybody else. So the easiest way is email, and then we can talk. We can sit down and say, okay, what is affecting you most? Maybe it's sleep, maybe it's diet, maybe it's exercise. But sometimes people just need accountability. People need to have someone to tell them, hey, here's the direction that, try this, this works, this doesn't work. And we can kind of navigate those together, you know.
I really appreciate it. And I'm grateful for your time. Again, I had a little message for you and everyone listening. We love you. We support you. We care a lot about you, and you're never alone. I, along with the doctor, will advocate for you. And together, I feel our voices are so much stronger. And I always say I'm just getting started, because even though I haven't just gotten started, when we met, I was just so excited and motivated that I wanted the world to learn about what you're doing in the field of occupational therapy, because I still feel, before we met, there's a lot of misconceptions and non-understanding. But now with this show and your incredible advice and time, I think there's a lot clearer of a picture. So just want to thank you again. Thank everyone for listening. Please support the doctor. I'm going to also add that to the show notes, but you can also locate him on Instagram, which I am always following and liking, at DRMV MNT, and that'll also lead you to his webpage and all the other incredible areas. So thank you again, Doctor. Thanks everyone for listening. This has been another episode of Q&A with Sharon St. George. Please stay tuned. This conversation cannot end just today. We have to continue this. We have to make sure people are aware of occupational therapy and the great doctor, and he's out there fighting for you and really available to help. So now through awareness, that can be made possible. So I'm really grateful again, everyone's time. We send our love and support, and we'll keep fighting until there's a cure. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Really
Thanks a lot.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.